He last spoke to BBC Television about a year ago, but yesterday afternoon, before the announcement of the death in England of IRA hunger striker Michael Gochan, O'Connell spoke again, giving his first public reactions to the fall of the Ulster Executive, the Ulster Workers' Council strike that led to the fall, and the hint of a possible truce in Belfast. But I asked him first about the Price sisters on hunger strike in London. Isn't it a fact, Mr. O'Connell, that your provisional IRA comrades, Dolores and Marion Price, are of more political value to you dead than alive?
The two lassies are human beings who are fighting for a very reasonable case. And we do not want to see them die. We will do everything possible to save them.
If you don't want to see them die, Mr. O'Connell, why did you issue that rather threatening statement at the British government over the weekend?
What we stated was that if these girls die, then there will be dire consequences for the British government.
You threatened the British government with retribution at the very time that the Home Secretary was deciding the future of the girls, thereby really forcing him to show that he couldn't give in to your intimidation. Therefore, it seems to me that what you did was almost guarantee that he would have to keep the girls in prison, and therefore the chances of them dying.
We would reject that. We simply stated that if those girls died, there would be dire consequences.
Why did you state it at that time, though?
The position of the girls has been critical for quite a while, and there hasn't been any indication. It was not intended as a threat. It was a simple statement of fact. And like the IRA has a credibility about it, that it doesn't make threats. If it states simply that there's a certain course of action, you can take it that that course of action will be followed.
Do you have a provisional IRA structure in England?
No comment.
What about the bomb factory in Berkshire? Bomb on the army coach, the airport bombs. Are these the provisional IRA responsible for those?
No, our policy has been not to make any statements in relation to the situation in England.
Why?
It's policy.
Well, why is it policy?
It's policy which has been formulated. There are very good reasons for it, and I'm not at liberty to disclose the reasons. Why
did you have Kenneth Lennon shot?
We didn't have Kenneth Lennon shot.
Well, who had him shot then?
There are various theories as to who did shoot him. The most obvious suspect party, is British intelligence.
You're seriously saying that the Special Branch had Mr. Lennon shot?
Well, what I'm saying is that they are the number one suspect for that operation.
But you're denying that the provisional IRA had him shot?
Yes.
That's a fact?
That's a fact, yeah.
Do you have assassination squads in the United Kingdom, in England?
We do not operate assassination squads. We are an army that has various units, and that is the position.
But you have bomb squads over there, do you?
I stated already that the policy is.
Mr. O'Connell, what were your feelings during the UWC strike last week?
What did strike one was that the leadership, as provided by the Ulster Workers' Council, had a note of authority and a ring of authenticity, which was appealing.
What do you think about the people on the Ulster Workers' Council?
Well, first of all, they've achieved quite a victory. Secondly, they demonstrated the tremendous power at their disposal. And thirdly, in the overall, they acted in a responsible way.
Has there been an IRA truce in Ulster since the UWC strike began?
No, there hasn't been a truce. There has been a reverting to a position of defence, which the circumstances dictated. That's very evident, particularly in the Belfast context. If one looks at the Delhi situation, there has been quite a bit of action against British troops during the last 2 weeks.
But generally speaking, there is a feeling that there's something akin to a truce going on. Would you agree that this is the right word for it?
I wouldn't agree that a truce as such, like we view a truce as a clear-cut proposal.
Or shall we call it a lack of offensive campaign?
Well, if you would, it's more accurate to say that there has been a great deal of consideration given to defence rather than offence during the last 2 weeks.
But what you're really saying, Mr. O'Connell, is there is a sort of tacit truce at the moment.
The word truce is
well, there's a situation in which you are not mounting an offensive campaign because, as I understand it, you're mounting a defence of the Catholic areas and you're waiting to see what's going to happen next politically.
Well, the political situation is a very fluid one at the moment. It has great promise because the whole political solutions, all the solutions proposed to date by the British government have been a failure.
Will you hold back your offensive campaign while the political situation holds this promise?
No, it wouldn't be true to say that we would.
Will you scale it down at all?
We will maintain our campaign as it is going at the moment.
But at the moment, there's not very much happening.
Well, in the Derry context, there's a fair amount happening.
What I'm getting at, it must be clear to you, is are we going back into car bombs and assassinations and murders and city centre explosions and so on?
Well, you know, I cannot accept your terminology of assassination and bombings and so forth in that context. Like, we have fought with a campaign.
But are we going back to a situation which people would recognise, let's say, by aggressive bombing, city centre bombing, and so on?
All I would say is this, that the IRA will step up its campaign when it thinks fit. If there is no give by the British government have an opportunity now to come across with the declaration. It is within their power, their ability to do so. If they miss this opportunity, then we have no option.
How long are you giving them?
They have sufficient. If you look in terms of months and so forth, one cannot put it in terms of a time scale like that. We ask for the declaration as soon as possible, and it's up to them to come across as soon as possible.
Mr. O'Conaill, a lot of people wonder what exactly is the IRA about, apart from terrorism, apart from fomenting sectarian hatred and blocking nearly every constructive attempt to solve the Ulster problem peacefully?
Well, I would disagree with you again, like as regards blocking constructive attempts. We do not feel that there has been one constructive attempt outside of Whitelaw's approach to us way back in June. Our policy, our aims are pretty well known. Basically, we seek an end to British rule in our country.
But I mean, what are you politically? What are you about apart from terrorism? And I mean, one thinks about the Doomsday Plan that was discovered in Belfast, in which it was stated quite clearly that you intended to set off car bombs in the centre of Belfast to foment a Protestant backlash.
That was a claim by the British Army, and it was unfortunate.
It was also a claim by the Prime Minister of Britain.
Yes, and that was the tragedy of it. The Prime Minister was duped by his own counterinsurgency
You're denying
section.
the authenticity of those papers, are you?
We would maintain that the documents were presented in such a way as to give a particular slant.
Aren't you really, with utter cynicism, simply whipping up latent sectarian hatred to implement whatever political plan you have?
Well, I reject again. We do not whip up sectarian hatred. And I come back to another
Setting off
point
a car
I made.
bomb in the centre of Belfast doesn't do much for the sectarian
This was a
cause.
claim by the counterinsurgency section of the British Army and the RUC.
Yes, but
when those gentlemen,
you've set off a lot of car bombs in the centre of Belfast.
Yes, we have
and
attacked
people
it.
wonder where this gets you, what it achieves, apart from fomenting a Protestant backlash.
we attacked the Grand Central Hotel in Belfast, which is a chief headquarters for the British Army, and that was a legitimate target. The effects of that were quite devastating.
Yes, they were.
Political-wise, and we have no regrets for that.
And is this the way in which you intend to continue, that innocent people must die for whatever political plan you want to
We have
implement?
never set out to take the lives of innocent people.
You
Point
have
of
said,
fact,
you
our
have
own
said on several
volunteers-
occasions, and your lieutenants have said, that innocent people die in a war. So, I mean, that's a fact of life, isn't it, really?
Innocent people do die, but there is an obligation upon the combatants to ensure that innocent life is protected to the maximum. Some of our volunteers have died protecting innocent lives. And one must bear in mind also that on the other side of the coin, the British Army have quite a score of innocent lives to their credit.
Do you feel now that things are going your way in Ulster? I mean, does the increasing talk of a British troop withdrawal give you any encouragement? In the House of Commons debate this evening, there's been further talk about this.
Yes, it does give us encouragement in the respect that when people talk about this, they're talking common sense. We have maintained from September 1971 that there would be no basis for a solution until the British government made a public commitment to disengage from Ireland. We have reiterated that demand right along the line. When we met Mr. Whitelaw, the chief item for discussion was a British declaration of intent. It was denied to us at that time. 2 years have elapsed since, And we find it satisfying now that quite a substantial body of opinion, both in Britain and Ireland, have come to the viewpoint that a commitment to disengage from Ireland is a requisite for a lasting solution.
Well, but what guarantee can you give the Catholics in Ulster that once the troops are out, the full weight of a Protestant backlash will not be inflicted upon them?
Well, nobody can give an absolute guarantee that the Protestants will not go for a backlash. Nobody could do that. What one can hope for is to work towards a situation.
Well, how would you work towards it?
First of all, if we get the declaration from the British government, coupled with an amnesty, and moves towards a lasting political solution, we have a termination to the war between the British forces and ourselves. Now, surely it will be recognised that that is one hell of a positive step forward. A climate would evolve within which that there is a duty on us as Republicans to negotiate the peace with the loyalists of Ulster.
You see, it seems to many people that you offer a political solution or a suggested political solution which nobody actually wants. Dublin doesn't want it, London doesn't want it, the Protestants in Ulster don't want it. Who actually wants it apart from the IRA, and are you just going to continue to bomb your way towards that solution?
Well, the fact of the matter is, like, Dublin has provided no solution. In fact, they have come up with no thinking whatsoever. They've made no effort to understand the case of the loyalist people of Ulster.
The point I'm making is that nobody wants your ideas, Mr. O'Connell. There's no support for your ideas outside the IRA. You don't have the backing of any large group whatsoever.
I'm surprised, like, at you saying that we have no support. Now, admittedly, our support has not been tested electorally, but our support has been tested in very real terms in the form that the IRA has survived where a lot of other organisations have gone by the board. The IRA could not have survived but for the fact that there was substantial public support for the policies of the IRA.
What evidence, what possible evidence do you have of that? The public support is for the SDLP. Where's the support for the political support for the IRA?
It was for the SDLP, and we have seen with the fall of the executive and so forth how far that got them. We find that at this point in time we're into a new situation. The British government is now considering, or at least a significant section of British public representatives are seriously considering the question of a phased and orderly withdrawal from Ireland. We believe that that is positive thinking. Reginald Mording this evening came out with that proposal. It is a positive step forward. We hope that that thinking will culminate in a commitment for a phased and orderly withdrawal. Once that happens, we have a termination of the conflict. Then we're into a new climate where all political proposals, the proposals of Craig, Paisley, the Workers' Council and so forth, can be put together.
Do you regard Craig, West and Paisley as fellow Irishmen?
Very much so. And we believe that their place is in this country. We believe that once we have an end to the outside interference, which is what they have called for, like Paisley, Craig and West have come out recently and said they don't give a damn if the British get out. They have shifted that position now. If we feel that that's a positive step forward. There is also a duty upon them to realise that they live in this island, and all of them have said, like, they want good neighbourliness and they want peace and so forth. The real test will come when we can sit down at a table and work out the peace.
So in the end for you, is it a war to be won or a peace to be negotiated?
It's a war to be won in relation to the British. It's a war that will be kept on until the British clearly commit themselves to leaving. Towards securing peace and stability, it is a peace to be negotiated with fellow countrymen.
If the British government doesn't give a commitment or a statement of intent to withdraw troops according to the manner in which you want it given, what's going to happen?
It means a continuation of our campaign. We have been very explicit about that, and until the declaration comes, there will be no cessation on our part.